First contact redux. Deep in the uncharted expanse of the Perseus Arm, the Concordat survey vessel Eternal Seeker drifted through the iridescent clouds of the Mirror Nebula. Science Officer Vexterra watched through all four of her eyes as the ship's quantum sensors painted ghostly patterns across the main display. After 3 decades of searching for remnants of humanity's lost civilization, most of the crew had given up hope of finding anything significant. But today was different. The sensors had detected something massive in the nebula's heart, a structure that defied the Concordat's most advanced scanning technology. "High Commander," Vexterra called out, her crystalline exoskeleton chiming softly with excitement. "The anomaly. It's artificial. Dimensions suggest a vessel approximately 12 kilometers in length." High Commander Ziraval rose from her command chair, her bioluminescent patches pulsing with intense blues and greens. "Impossible. Nothing that size could maintain structural integrity during FTL travel. Even the Concordat's largest ships barely reach 2 kilometers. The readings are clear, Commander. And there's more." Vexterra's fingers danced across the holographic interface. "I'm detecting quantum signatures that match historical records from the human era." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Every member of the crew knew the stories. How humanity had appeared among the stars a millennium ago, demonstrating technological prowess that made the established civilizations look primitive by comparison. Then, without warning or explanation, they had vanished, leaving behind only fragments of their advanced technology and a warning encoded in every human facility discovered since: "What sleeps should not wake." "Show me," Ziraval ordered, her voice steady despite the tremor in her bioluminescence. The main view screen shifted, piercing through the nebula's veils to reveal a sight that would soon shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The vessel was beautiful in its impossibility, smooth curves blending seamlessly with geometric patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. Its hull bore markings in the ancient human script, still pristine after 1,000 years. "TAS Prometheus, Guardian Fleet." "It's powered down but intact," Vexterra reported. "Internal atmosphere maintained." "And Commander, I'm detecting stasis fields. They're active." Before Ziraval could respond, the ship's AI chimed an alert. "Warning. Unknown quantum transmission detected. The vessel is initiating contact." Across the massive ship's hull, lines of light began to pulse like neural pathways awakening in a sleeping giant. A voice filled the Eternal Seeker's communication system, speaking in perfect modern Concordat standard, despite its 1,000-year dormancy. "This is the Terran humanitarian ship Prometheus. We have awakened according to the Alpha Protocol. To any civilizations receiving this transmission, what we sought to prevent has begun to stir. The seals are weakening. We require immediate contact with the current governing body of local space." Ziraval's bioluminescence shifted to deep purple, a sign of grave concern among her species. "Open a channel," she ordered, knowing that this moment would change everything. "And send an emergency quantum burst to Concordat High Command. Priority Alpha." As the crew scrambled to comply, a new set of markings appeared on the Prometheus's hull, scrolling in multiple languages. "The stars grow dark. The Void Hunters. What sleeps has begun to wake." In the Concordat's headquarters on New Genesis, the quantum burst would soon trigger alarms that hadn't sounded in centuries. The humans had returned, not as conquerors or refugees, but as guardians who had sacrificed a millennium to protect the galaxy from something they deemed worse than eternal exile. The question that would soon echo through every world in known space was simple: what could have frightened humanity, at the height of their power, enough to make them hide away their greatest ships and ventures into voluntary extinction? The answer, sleeping in the darkness between the stars, was about to reveal itself. The first contact between humanity and the galaxy's civilizations was about to be repeated. But this time, the stakes were higher than anyone could imagine. The Prometheus hadn't been hiding. It had been waiting, standing guard over secrets that could either save or doom all sentient life. And now, after 1,000 years of silence, it was time for humanity to explain why they had abandoned the stars. The game of survival was about to begin again. The Guardians' Wake. The Concordat Emergency Council chamber hadn't been this full since the Great Nova Crisis 3 centuries ago. Representatives from 200 species filled the ancient hall, their urgent whispers creating a storm of sound that reflected off the crystalline walls. High Commander Ziravel stood before them, her bioluminescence carefully controlled to Project Calm Authority, as she delivered news that would reshape their understanding of history. Behind her, a hologram showed the Prometheus in all its impossible glory, now surrounded by a growing fleet of Concordat vessels. The ship dwarfed them all, its liquid metal hull reflecting the light of distant stars. The human vessel's eye has provided preliminary data, Ziravel announced, her voice cutting through the chaos. The Prometheus is what they called a guardian ship, one of 7 vessels constructed to serve as sentinels over what they termed cosmic quarantine zones. The council erupted in questions, but Elder Kix of the Silicon Mines raised his crystalline form highest, earning the right to speak first. Quarantine. What exactly were they containing? Before Ziravel could respond, the chamber's lights dimmed. A new figure materialized in the center of the room, a holographic human female wearing a uniform that hadn't been seen in a millennium. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the THS Prometheus," the figure announced, her voice resonating with artificial clarity. "And I am here to explain why humanity chose extinction over letting what we found spread across the galaxy." The chamber fell silent. Even the youngest representatives knew that this was only the second time in recorded history that a human had addressed the Concordat directly. 1,000 years ago, Chen continued, humanity's quantum exploration vessels detected something at the edges of known space, patterns in the cosmic background radiation that shouldn't have been possible. We found wounds in reality itself, and through those wounds, we glimpsed something that defied comprehension. The hologram shifted, showing astronomical data that made several of the more sensitive species recoil. "We discovered that our universe is not the first to exist in this space. The others didn't die. They were consumed, and the entity responsible had begun to take notice of our reality." Elder Kix's crystalline form dimmed with concern. "You speak of the dark flow anomaly. Our scientists have been studying it for centuries." "Your scientists," Chen replied, "have only seen the surface ripples of a cosmic hurricane. What sleeps in the void between galaxies is vast beyond comprehension, a being that devours not just matter and energy, but the fundamental laws of physics themselves. We called it the Reality Eater." The chamber erupted again, but Chen's hologram raised a hand for silence. Humanity didn't disappear. We deployed ourselves as a barrier. The 7 guardian ships, including the Prometheus, maintain quantum fields that strengthen the fabric of space-time itself, preventing the entity from fully manifesting in our universe. Our civilization entered stasis, scattered across the galaxy in hidden outposts, ready to awaken if our containment measures ever failed. Ziravel's bioluminescence pulsed with revelation. The warning inscriptions we found on every human ruin were meant to prevent anyone from accidentally disrupting the quantum barriers, Chen confirmed. But now we face a greater problem. The Reality Eater is adapting. Our sensors detect increasing strain on the universal constants. The laws of physics themselves are beginning to fray at the edges of known space. She turned to address the entire council, her holographic eyes reflecting a millennium of prepared purpose. "We didn't wake to ask for help. We woke to warn you. What's coming cannot be fought with conventional weapons or technology. Reality itself is our enemy, and it's learning to break through our defenses." The chamber fell into stunned silence as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't fled in fear or died out from some catastrophe. They had sacrificed their entire civilization to become eternal guardians, protecting not just their own species, but all life in the universe from a threat beyond comprehension. "The time has come," Chen declared, her voice heavy with the weight of 1,000 years of vigilance, "for humanity to share everything we know. The Prometheus carries the sum total of human scientific knowledge, including the quantum technologies we use to strengthen the barriers between dimensions. We'll need to teach you how to use them, quickly, because when the reality eater finally breaks through, we'll need every sentient species fighting together if we hope to preserve not just our lives, but the very laws of physics that make our existence possible. As the council descended into urgent discussion, Zereval noticed something about Chen's hologram that few others would catch, a subtle flicker in her image that suggested she was transmitting from within a quantum stasis pod. The human captain hadn't fully awakened yet. This was just a preset message, triggered by the detection of critical changes in the cosmic background radiation. The real awakening was yet to come, and with it, humanity's full return to a galaxy that had spent a millennium wondering why they left. The answer, it seemed, was both simpler and more terrifying than anyone had imagined. They had never left at all. They had simply taken up positions on the wall, standing guard against horrors beyond imagination, waiting for the day when the universe would need them to wake and fight once more. Ancient threats stirring. In the quantum engineering lab aboard the Prometheus, Dr. Aria Jong watched as her alien counterpart, Elder Kix, interfaced with the ship's systems, the crystalline being's structure pulsed with rainbow patterns as he processed the vast stream of human scientific data. Impossible, Kix whispered, his crystalline form vibrating with what Aria had learned to recognize as excitement. Your quantum barrier technology doesn't just reinforce space-time. It creates localized pockets of enhanced physical laws. You found a way to strengthen reality itself. Aria nodded, her neural interface with the ship's AI highlighting relevant data streams in her augmented vision. We had to. The reality eater doesn't just consume matter and energy. It digests the fundamental forces that hold the universe together. Conventional defenses were meaningless. Around them, the Prometheus's liquid metal walls rippled with cascading patterns of light. The ship wasn't just a vessel. It was a living quantum computer, constantly calculating and adjusting its reality-reinforcing field to counter the subtle pressures from beyond normal space. Alert, the ship's AI announced, its voice resonating through both verbal and neural channels. Quantum field disturbance detected in Sector 7. Displaying now. The lad's holographic display came alive, showing a region of space near the galaxy's edge. To normal sensors, it would have appeared empty. But through the Prometheus's quantum imaging systems, they could see the fabric of space-time itself beginning to fray. "It's starting," Aria said, her voice tight with concern. "Sooner than we predicted. The containment fields are weakening faster than they should be." Kix's crystalline form shifted to deep indigo, a sign of grave concern. The data suggests an intelligence behind these degradation patterns. The entity is learning, adapting its attacks on our reality's fundamental constants. Before Aria could respond, Captain Chen's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. "All personnel to battle stations. We're detecting quantum field collapses across 3 sectors. The other Guardian ships are reporting similar phenomena." The Prometheus shuddered as its engines powered up for the first time in a millennium. Through her neural link, Aria felt the vast ship's systems coming fully online, quantum computers calculating possible futures at speeds that defied conventional physics. "Elder Kix," Chen continued, "your presence is requested on the bridge. Your expertise in quantum mechanics will be crucial for what comes next." As they hurried through the ship's transforming corridors, the liquid metal walls flowing to create the most efficient path to the bridge, Aria saw the true scope of what was happening. The reality eater wasn't just testing their defenses anymore. It was launching a coordinated assault on the structure of space-time itself. They emerged onto the bridge to find it transformed into a quantum command center. 3-dimensional holograms showed the status of all 7 Guardian ships, each maintaining their ancient vigil at different points around the galaxy. Captain Chen stood at the center, her neural interface giving her direct control over the ship's most critical systems. "Show them," Chen ordered, and the main display shifted to reveal something that made even Kix's crystalline form dim with horror. The void between galaxies was moving. Not the normal motion of cosmic expansion, but something else. A writhing darkness that seemed to swallow both light and the laws of physics themselves. And within that darkness, patterns were forming that shouldn't have been possible in normal space. We're reading quantum field collapses across all monitored sectors. The ship's AI reported. The entity appears to be implementing what we can only describe as weaponized universal constants, using altered versions of our own physical laws against us. How is that even possible? Demanded Admiral Ziraval, who had arrived with a contingent of Concordat scientists and military leaders. Because it's done this before, Area explained, watching as the quantum distortion spread like cracks in reality itself. The entity doesn't just consume universes, it learns from them. And now it's using everything it absorbed from previous realities to break through our barriers. Chen's neural interface pulsed with activity as she coordinated with the other Guardian ships. We need to synchronize our quantum fields, she announced. The Concordat's fleet will need to act as amplification points, strengthening our reality-reinforcing network. Dr. Zhang, Elder Kix, your teams have 1 hour to teach them how to modify their shift shields to handle quantum field generation. As the bridge erupted into activity, Area shared a look with Kix. The crystalline being had finished processing humanity's quantum technology database, and they both knew what the captain wasn't saying. Even with all 7 Guardian ships and the entire Concordat fleet working together, they could only slow the Reality Eater's advance. To actually stop it, they would need something new, something that combined humanity's quantum engineering with the Concordat's crystal-based computational systems in ways neither civilization had imagined possible. And they would have to create it before the laws of physics themselves were rewritten by an entity that had already devoured countless universes. The real question was whether their combined knowledge would be enough to outsmart something that had learned from the deaths of entire realities. Through her neural link, Area could feel the Prometheus's eye calculating their odds of success. She chose not to look at the results. Legacy of the stars, the combined fleet of humanity, and the Concordat hung in the void at the galaxy's edge, a shimmering barrier of ships stretching across light years of space. At its center, the 7 Guardian ships maintained their quantum fields at maximum power, their reality-reinforcing barriers straining against the increasing pressure from beyond normal space. On the Prometheus's quantum research deck, Dr. Area Zhang and Elder Kix had transformed the entire section into what they called the Reality Forge, a testing ground for their desperate attempt to create a new form of defense against the cosmic horror they faced. The crystal matrix is reaching quantum coherence, Kix announced, his crystalline form pulsing with complex mathematical patterns. Around him, a lattice of Concordat crystal technology merged with human quantum processors, creating something entirely new. Area nodded, her neural interface streaming data directly into her consciousness. The ship's AI confirms we're achieving reality stability ratings 300% higher than our previous attempts. But it's still not enough. Through the vast observation windows, they could see the true nature of their enemy. The void between galaxies had transformed into something that hurt to look at. A writhing darkness that seemed to swallow not just light, but the very concepts of space and time. Within that darkness, impossible geometries formed and dissolved, each one representing an attack on the fundamental forces that held their universe together. Captain Chen's voice echoed through the ship's neural network. Status report. The entity has broken through the quantum barriers in sectors 12 through 15. We're losing coherence across the entire defensive line. Area watched as the tactical displays showed more of their reality-reinforcing network failing. The combined fleet was fighting back, using techniques that merged human quantum engineering with Concordat crystal technology, but they were losing ground. The Reality Eater had absorbed too many universes, learned too many ways to unmake existence itself. There has to be something we're missing, Area muttered, her augmented vision scanning through centuries of human research data. All this technology, all this knowledge. Kix's crystalline form suddenly pulsed with intense light. Perhaps that's it. We're trying to fight this entity with knowledge, with science and technology. But it has devoured entire universes. It knows every possible configuration of natural law. What are you suggesting? Your species did something no other civilization in our records had done. You chose to stand guard over reality itself, sacrificing your entire civilization for a greater purpose. That choice, that consciousness, that intent, it exists outside of pure natural law. Aria's neural interface flared with sudden understanding. Consciousness as a quantum variable. We're not just generating fields that reinforce reality. We're choosing how reality should behave. The entity can't predict or absorb that because consciousness itself is a wild card in the equations of existence. Their revelation spread through the fleet's quantum network, reaching every ship and every mind in the vast defensive array. Captain Chen's voice carried new urgency. All ships, prepare for consciousness synchronization. We're going to merge the quantum field network with the combined neural patterns of every sentient being in the fleet. What happened next defied description in any known language. Through their neural interfaces and crystal matrices, the consciousness of every human and alien in the fleet became part of the quantum field itself. Their combined will become a new fundamental force, one that existed outside the natural laws the reality eater had learned to corrupt. The entity recoiled from this new force, something it had never encountered in all the universes it had consumed. The quantum readings showed impossible numbers as consciousness itself became a weapon, reinforcing reality not through cold equations, but through the collective choice of countless minds, choosing existence over oblivion. It's working, Kix announced, his crystalline form resonating with the combined mental energy of the fleet. The entity, it's retreating from the consciousness-reinforced sectors. But victory celebrations were premature. Through the quantum network, they all felt it. The reality eater was gathering itself for one final assault. It had devoured too many universes to accept defeat from beings it saw as insignificant motes in the cosmic scale. All ships, brace for impact, Chen ordered, her voice carrying through neural links and quantum fields alike. This is the moment humanity prepared for. This is why we stood guard for 1,000 years. Reality itself is under attack, and we are its defenders. The darkness between galaxies began to pulse with impossible energies. The reality eater was preparing to unleash everything it had learned from countless devoured universes in one reality-shattering attack. But this time, it faced something new. Not just technology or natural law, but the combined will of two civilizations choosing to stand together against the dark. As Aria felt the quantum network surge with the consciousness of every being in the fleet, she understood what her ancestors had known a millennium ago. That the greatest force in any universe wasn't technology or physical law, but the choice to stand against impossible odds for something greater than yourself. The final battle for reality itself was about to begin. Tomorrow's dawn. The void between galaxies had become a war zone, where the very concepts of space and time were the ammunition. The reality eater's final assault manifested as a wave of unreality, a tide of cosmic horror that threatened to dissolve the fundamental forces holding the universe together. Against this impossibility stood the combined fleet of humanity and the Concordat, their ships forming a barrier of consciousness and technology against the dark. Through the quantum network linking every vessel, Captain Chen's voice resonated with calm determination. All ships, maintain formation. Focus your consciousness through the quantum fields. Reality itself is our armor and our weapon. The Prometheus shuddered as waves of distorted physics washed over its hull. Through her neural interface, Aria Zhang could feel the ship's eyes struggling to maintain quantum coherence as the reality eater attacked with weapons stolen from dead universes, forces that simply shouldn't exist in their reality. The consciousness field is holding, Elder Kix reported, his crystalline form pulsing with the combined mental energy of the fleet. But the entity is learning, adapting. It's trying to absorb our quantum patterns. Across the defensive line, Ships began to flicker and distort as the Reality Eater probed their defenses with impossible mathematics. The laws of physics themselves were being rewritten around them, space-time twisting into configurations that threatened to tear their vessels apart. But something unexpected was happening. As the entity attempted to digest their consciousness-reinforced quantum fields, it encountered a force it had never faced in all its eons of devouring realities. The unpredictable power of choice, of will, of minds choosing to stand together against extinction. It's not just our technology defending us, Area realized, watching through augmented vision, as the quantum readings shifted into patterns that defied analysis. It's our stories, our memories, our hopes, everything that makes consciousness more than just firing neurons. The entity can't predict or absorb that because it's never encountered true choice before. The Reality Eater recoiled from this new force, its attack faltering as it encountered something that couldn't be reduced to mathematical constants. Through the quantum network, every being in the fleet could feel the entity's confusion and its rage. Now, Chen ordered, her neural link pulsing with command authority. All ships, synchronize your quantum fields. Dr. Zhang, Elder Kix, initiate the consciousness cascade. What followed was a moment that would be remembered for as long as sentient beings told stories in their galaxy. Every mind in the fleet, human and alien alike, projected their consciousness through the quantum network. Their combined will become a new fundamental force, one born not from the cold equations of physics, but from the hot core of life itself. The choice to exist, to persist, to stand against the dark. The Reality Eater fought back with weapons stolen from 1,000 dead universes, but each attack met a wall of pure consciousness, reinforced by technology, but powered by something the entity could never understand. It couldn't devour their reality because their reality was now anchored in something beyond physical law. The collective will of two civilizations choosing to defend existence itself. From her station in the Reality Forge, Area watched through quantum-enhanced senses as the impossible battle reached its crescendo. The entity, for the first time in its ancient existence, began to retreat. Not because it was defeated by superior force or technology, but because it had encountered something it couldn't consume. The power of minds united in defense of everything they held dear. The quantum readings are stabilizing, Kix announced, his crystalline form bright with triumph. Reality is reasserting itself. The entity is withdrawing from our spacetime. Through the vast windows of the Prometheus, they watched as the darkness between galaxies began to recede. The Reality Eater, faced with something it couldn't understand or overcome, was pulling back from their universe. The laws of physics stabilized, spacetime rebuilding itself according to its natural patterns. In the aftermath, as the combined fleet began the work of strengthening the quantum barriers that would keep their universe safe, Captain Chen addressed every ship through the neural network. A millennium ago, humanity chose to stand guard over reality itself. We sacrificed our civilization to protect not just our species, but all life in this universe. Today we learned that we never needed to stand alone. The message spread through quantum links and crystal matrices, reaching every mind in the fleet. The greatest defense against cosmic horror isn't technology or physical law. It's the choice to stand together, to fight for existence itself. Humanity didn't disappear 1,000 years ago. We were just waiting for the moment when all sentient life would need to unite against the dark. As the Prometheus's quantum fields pulsed with renewed strength, Area and Kix began documenting everything they had learned. Their discovery about consciousness as a fundamental force would transform science across the galaxy. But more importantly, it would remind future generations that in the face of cosmic horror, the greatest power in any universe is the choice to stand together against the impossible. The Reality Eater had devoured countless universes, but it had finally encountered something it couldn't consume. The combined will of beings who chose to defend not just their existence, but the very concept of reality itself. In the end, that choice proved stronger than any weapon stolen from dead universes. Dawn was breaking across the galaxy, and for the first time in a millennium, humanity could look to the future instead of standing guard over the past. The stars were safe, not because of technology or power, but because consciousness itself had become the shield that protected existence from the horrors that lurked between realities. The long watch was over. Tomorrow had begun.